Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another session of Easy Dharma for the New Normal. And today we on another session of the Wheel of Sharp Weapons. And as usual, I'll see if who's on, right? Kechara. So today I'll be doing verse 12 onwards. But let me see who's on first. Hey, it's slow. Give me a moment. Hello. Okay, it's loaded the page, but I don't see myself yet. Oh, it's kind of slow. Okay, I can see myself now. That's good. All right. Good evening, Mr. Lam. You are my first viewer on. Okay, let me put to a lower res. Okay. Okay, today I'll try to finish because finally I'll be finishing the Wheel of Sharp Weapons, and perhaps next week I'll do a kind of like a wrap up of everything, of the entire Wheel of Sharp Weapons, to give you a a more complete picture of what these verses are about, and if you have any questions, or if you have any, anything to share about what we have talked about so far, about everything from the Wheel of Sharp Weapons or Dharma or anything at all. King Hoi, good evening. Good evening, everybody. So, as usual, before I begin, usually I'll talk about something. And I was just thinking of, actually, I was racking my brains the last few days, and I was thinking, rather since yesterday, not really few days, since yesterday, I was thinking about what we should talk about this today. And interestingly, someone brought up something I posted on the US thread before, which was actually a story about a Indian Pandit, a debate between Indian Pandits, okay, between Aryadeva and Ashwagosha. Ashwagosha, at that time in the story, he was a non-Buddhist. Later, he became the Buddhist, and I think some of you may have, his name's familiar. He composed the 50 verses, right? What he did was he walked through a doorway, a threshold, a doorway, and he put one foot through the door, and he asked Aryadeva, am I, let me see if I got this right, am I coming in or going out? So, am I coming in when there's a door? It's just a door. Am I coming in or going out? So it could be this way, it doesn't matter. So what do you think? Good evening, Julian, Esther, Kwang Ming, King Hoi, and all that. And I think there's some other people. I just don't see. Well, it's slow. It's a Tuesday, so I hope you guys had a good dinner, and you're probably resting after dinner, relaxing before another day of work tomorrow, right? So what happened is I have a story which is of a debate between two Pandits, and Ashwagosha, Pandit 1, and Aryadeva, Pandit 2. So Ashwagosha put one foot through the door and asked the question whether I am coming in or going out. So what do you think the answer? And it's interesting because the answer came out depends on your motivation or your intention. So isn't it brilliant? This story was highlighted by Martin, someone who's here, a senior member here in Kechara, and I thought it was interesting because actually when I first read it, I thought it was amazing because it highlighted one very important aspect of karma. People think it's the action that determines the result of your actions. It's not the action. It's not the action that determines what comes back to you. It's your intent. Don't you think? You know, why is that? Good evening, Munting. Miaoki, good evening. Regular people, huh? Why is your intention determines the outcome of your karma? I mean, logically speaking, it should be the action, if you do something good, something good comes back to you. So, if motivation is the one that determines the outcome, then if you do not have a good motivation and you do something good, it can also result in negative karma, right? So that's the thing about karma. It is important. It's very, very important to set your motivation, and how to set your motivation, and what is motivation, and how to train your mind to have a right motivation. And actually, that's what the real sharp weapon is all about, because it points directly to the source of why all our actions, be it neutral, good or bad, always ultimately result in something not good for us, because ultimately it comes from one source, which is the self-cherishing mind. So it does not matter what action you take, it comes from the same source. So that's why training your motivation, understanding your motivation, because most of the time we do things mindlessly. Because I remember in one of the Dharma sessions I had with some people, and they said, how do I do it now? Because, how do I, always generate the kind of thought? Sometimes we do things automatically, we do things mindlessly. So that's the thing. That's the idea, that we are always unaware, ignorance. So we are quite ignorant in a sense. Ignorance is not stupidity. It is unaware, and we are very, very unaware. We are unaware of how our actions, our intent, what is our real intent. Because the thing is, when we don't think of what we're doing, or we're doing mindlessly, right? It's not that we're not generating an intent. We are generating intent. We are generating intent all the time. And it's the intent that we have been generating all the time. Generating means you keep thinking, you keep doing. It's a habit. Because you have been doing it for so often, it's just automatic. So it's impossible you have, mindless, no plan, no intent. It is impossible. You always have an intent. It's just that when you are mindlessly doing things, or you are automatically doing things, some people say it's automatic, it is not automatic. It's just a habit. It's just we're doing it out of, from previous experience, from how we've been doing things all along. It's like when we learn to drive a car, right? If we learn to drive the car the correct way, meaning you use your turn signals, the blinkers, as some people call it, then it's automatic. You always use it. If you've trained when you've learned to drive the time, right, and you didn't get the habit of using the blinkers, the turn signals, then you will never use it. So what I'm trying to say, it's all coming from your habituation, and most of our habituation is set from previous lives, meaning from lifetimes and lifetimes of doing the same thing. So it comes naturally to us, and being, thinking about selves, thinking about family, our own family, not other people's family, our own family, thinking about money, career, relationships. It's automatic for most of us. So that already. Sometimes we talk about previous lives, right? Some of us, we wonder where we were before in our previous life, what kind of person we are. You don't have to really need to go to a fortune teller or go to Rinpoche or High Lama to ask for divination. Oh, Rinpoche, you're so clairvoyant. Please tell me what was I in my previous life? Rinpoche will, of course, just tease us and say you're an animal or something like that. But no, actually, it's not necessary, because all we have to do is you just look in our current life, what we're doing. It's pretty much similar. Perhaps, in our previous life, we just didn't have, modern handphones and all that, but we were doing the same thing, relationships, career, jobs, business. It's very much the same. So knowing that, it's important when we study the Dharma. It is important to not take things on a very superficial level. So we have to understand where this is all coming from. So to understand the whole bigger picture. So I won't go so much into the philosophy and all that, as I know this is supposed to be easy Dharma for and some more to the verses. I actually read ahead before this, and I was like, oh no, because the last verses of the Wheel of Sharp Weapons. Today I'm doing 112, I think. Right? Yeah, 112, verse 112 onwards, right? It's quite, it's about emptiness already, about shunyata. I will do my best to give you an explanation as that is understandable, that's not too about, technical terms. And also I'll give you some from Rinpoche's teachings and put it all together like a salad and offer to you. All right. Good evening to Christy, Mimi, Swan, Fuk Swan, and Deshman Lama, and Chui Kam Chia. Okay, good evening. Welcome to Wheel of Sharp Weapons. If you've never been on before, it's what we're talking about today is actually based on a Buddhist scripture, a Mahayana text called the Wheel of Sharp Weapons. It is composed by a Indonesian master. In the ancient times, about 1,000 years ago, Indonesia was there's parts of Indonesia that was Buddhist, and they had great monastic institutions, a lot of masters, and they held a special lineage of training in bodhicitta. Training in compassion. Bodhicitta is compassion, great compassion. So what happens is one Indian master by the name of Atisha traveled from India to Indonesia, and he brought back this text, and that is the one that we'll be reading from today. And I've been doing this session every day for the last, I think, 12 weeks on a weekly basis, and we've read through all these and give you an explanation. And if you have any questions, ask me. It doesn't have to be directly related to what I'm talking about, anything about Dharma, please ask. It's my pleasure to explain as far as I can explain. Okay, there's some things I may not know, then I say, okay, I'll get back to you maybe next week. If I know, and then I'll explain to you. All right. So so it is important to understand, to realize karma. There's a few aspects of it. We all know karma. I mean, everybody has an understanding of karma. Whether you study Buddhism or you heard about Buddhism or you're not, you've heard of karma. Especially if you're Chinese in Malaysia, it's a given. You do something, it will come back to you. So it's quite universal. A lot of people understand this as a basic truth. And but in Buddhism, we delve deeper into the various aspects of karma that is not so obvious. For example, is the intent. Your intent is more important. Your intent or your motivation. We like to use the word motivation in Buddhism. So your intent is usually governed, or rather, it is usually within your habituation. It is shaped by your habituation. It is shaped by the things you've been doing a lot. Especially if you do, a certain type of actions, certain type of thinking, it will shape it. And also motivation explains why some people can smile and it's good karma because they are a nice person. They want to, they're happy for other people. Some people, when they smile, they commit negative karma. Yes, smiling can commit negative karma. For example, when someone gets hurt, someone gets in trouble, another person who witnessed it is smiling because they rejoice. They rejoice that someone is getting hurt because they're angry. They want revenge. They're happy, someone's unhappy, got in trouble. There are people who rejoice in people's troubles. So isn't that bad karma? So you can smile and commit good karma. You can also smile and commit negative karma. So in other words, the action smiling has no real value. It is actually your intent. So whatever actions you do, it's your intent. But there are some actions, there's only one that I can think of that is inherently negative no matter what your intention is, unless you're attained, which is killing. Some people think, sorry, no offense to anybody. I do it for a living, So as they say it as if like that will erase the karma, or some people like to think, because it's a living, I have to, for example, I'm a chicken slaughterer, or a butcher, and it's a living. So what I do is I donate a lot of money to the temple, and a lot of times we hope that we do something good will erase the negative. It doesn't work that way unless you do engage in purification practices. So in understanding Dharma and karma, we have to understand that there is practices to purify karma. There's practices that accumulate merit. Okay, that the merit that we accumulate, the good merit that we accumulate in relations to the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, does not override immediately the negative karma. It has to be specific purification practices. It's important for people to understand this, because I do something good and I do something. I commit one good karma and then I do another bad karma, and hopefully the good karma will override the bad karma. It doesn't work that way. This is not accounting. Everybody must understand that. All right. If you have any questions, ask me. I have a question here, I think. If our pet dog is very sick and the vet's advice is to euthanize our pets, so with this create bad karma, if we agreed or choose this decision by the vet, is this the same as murdering them? Euthanasia, you're saying? In Buddhist sense, yes, it is killing. It is killing, but you have a good intent. But that's why I said killing is inherently not good, no matter what your intention is. Because at our level, we don't have the capacity to turn killing into something that will result in good karma for us. We don't. So you cannot escape karma in a sense that you cannot say, because your good intent means killing will become good karma for you. It will not. So you have to accept that. And if you decide, it is a difficult decision. All of us want to lessen the suffering of the animals and of our loved ones. This is just your pet. Imagine if it's your relative, it's your loved one. If you have to pull the plug and they're in a vegetable state, So imagine that. So it is important to understand your intention of why you do things. Okay? So in Buddhism, this is what some people say. When you know that everything we experience is a result of a karma. So it would be better if we experience all the negative karma as much as we can experience in this life, so that it is fruition. So that if the person, for example, your pet dog, this is how I see it, the pet dog, if they're suffering a lot, and so what happens is you do not want the dog to suffer, right? But you see, if you understand karma, if the dog, the dog, has the karma to suffer, even if you lessen it, you pull the plug, in the next life they'll experience it again. There's no escape unless you purify it, or either you experience or purify. All right, purification is different. Experiencing means you experience it, then it's over. Once it's over, it's over. So the karma will be exhausted. So purification is different. By the power of purification practices in relation to the three jewels, you can remove karma at its root. All right. So good evening, everybody. I see a lot of people come on. Pav, Jeffrey Kaur, Gary, Sokfan, and Jerry. Good evening to you guys. And it is controversial what I just said. This is a view of a very traditional Buddhist view, and with regards to euthanasia, some people in Buddhism prefer it to that they experience the karma fully, and then they die naturally. Some people prefer to lessen the negative karma by, like euthanasia. So ultimately, the decision is up to you, because you happen to be the owner of this dog, this pet. So it's up to you. If you want to lessen, it's fine. And if you're afraid of the negative karma, there are practices like Vajrasattva. You can also commission a Buddha statue, like Medicine Buddha, Lama Tsongkhapa, Dorje Shugden, for this for your pet, so that every time you offer incense, lights to the Buddhas, to this particular Buddha, it will be dedicated to the deceased. At that time, your pet will be deceased, and to purify and to create the conditions for that your pet will meet the Dharma in the next life. Hopefully, as a human. Hopefully. All right. Okay. I have some comment from Gary. Good evening, Pastor. I'm glad my maid, after understanding about Dharma and cause and effect, has also given up her rearing of animals for eventual butchering. She has decided not to continue with that business and decided to focus more on the sundries mini shop business instead. Very good. That's good to hear. Yeah, especially if you are directly butchering animals, it's heavy negative karma, very heavy. And because it will come back in the form of sickness. It will come back in the form of some, and also you'll notice that people who are used to killing animals, right? They're emotionally a bit more distant. What does that mean by emotionally distant? They have a little lower sense of empathy, like for people. Empathy means they can feel people's emotions. They can feel that people are suffering or unhappy or angry or sad. They have a lower level of that kind of empathy, because when you are used to killing, you have your logically speaking, you become desensitized. You don't feel so much already, the suffering of other beings, animals, for example, and that will carry forward to people's human to human relation. It's not that you're killing people and you don't feel it. It's that when you hurt them, or when you do something that inadvertently causes them to be unhappy or upset, or you don't feel it so much. That's part of the result of killing. I remember Rinpoche mentioned it's very subtle, it's very deep. Okay, so there's a lot of effects of killing. And of course, depends on what you kill. If you kill insects, you kill poultry, animals, or you kill human, the worst of course is human, then goes up. And human depends on if it's someone you loved, it's heavy negative karma. If it's your parents, it's a heinous crime. In Buddhism, there is 5 heinous crimes. Heinous crimes means what? There are 5 heinous crimes. It's not crime again, in a court of law. It's crime in a court of karma. You know what I mean? Not court law. It's the top of the top, the worst type of karma of killing that you can commit, which is you kill your father, you kill your mother. I mean, this is universal. Everybody kind of ethically think that, but not necessarily everyone, okay? Most people have an understanding, but there's some people who don't. All right, so okay, good to see a lot of people, and thank you for all your comments and your questions. It is important that we understand. I think this karma thing is it's very basic, but there's a lot of avenues. There's a lot of different aspects to it. I only covered a little bit. There's a lot of other aspects which I will not cover today. I just wanted to get the ball rolling before I go into this, because the next section, which is when I start reading on the wheel of sharp weapons, right? It will be on a very deep subject about emptiness, about shunyata. And I have been avoiding this topic a long time ago when I first started this. Well, it's not that long lah. When we started this live streaming thing, someone asked me to explain about emptiness and I kind of shied away from it, and I said I'm not qualified, which is true, I'm not. But then I started on this text, and I realized at the end of it, it is about emptiness, and I have no choice. I have to explain. I do know a little bit, but I have to profess I have not read enough. But probably I know enough that I can give a simple explanation to you guys. All right. Good evening. Jiang Zhejiang. Jiang. So sorry, I don't know. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And Pastor Ani, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, verse 112. Let me post that verse for you, and then I'll read it. It's beautiful, actually, this part, and very, very deep. Verse 112. When musicians are playing a beautiful melody, should we examine the sound they are making, we would see that it does not exist by itself. But when we are not making our formal analysis, still there is a beautiful tune to be heard, which is merely a label on notes and on players. That is why lovely music can lighten sad hearts. So this is the beginning already. It's trying to give you an analogy of reality, in a sense that when you hear music, where does it come from? Does it come from the radio? Does it come from sorry, let's not talk about radio. Let's talk about like when someone plays a violin, right? Where does it come from? It comes from the violin itself, the stick. Does it come from the player? Actually, logically speaking, it does not come from any of it, because it should play by itself. If it comes from the player should be able to sing violin songs to you, but cannot, right? So what happens is, it comes from, where does it come from? It comes from the confluence of all these factors. It comes from the person having the knowledge, playing the violin, using the stick to hit the violin, and in such a manner that it produces the music. So there's many factors come together to produce music. So on itself, each element cannot produce the music. So in essence, the music doesn't really exist. It only exists because it came together. That is the nature of reality. Okay? That is emptiness on one level. Okay, I got a question here. Mr. Lam asks, Pastor, what about people who are unsound mind who murders his or her parents? Do they also suffer as they don't have the intention in the first instance? Unsound mind, as in very good. You have brought a very, 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 very good point. I would say that they would still have the intent. Yes, I still think that they still have the intent. They cannot be like, you see, even when a person is unsound mind, they have picked up an object to attack. Maybe in their hallucination, it's not the parents, but it's something they wish to attack. It's born out of aggression to kill or destroy. So the end result is your parents are murdered. So whether the person like it or not, it happened. Okay, so it happened. Maybe the karma will not be as heavy, but that doesn't mean that there's no karma. And for it, just the same way that if you own a business, a farm, a farm that slaughters animals for meat, just because you didn't pick up the knife to slaughter the animal doesn't mean you don't get the karma. People think just because we are distant away from the actual act, but we create the cause for it, definitely you have the karma. The blood is on our hands whether we like it or not, because we created the cause. If we have not created a cause, we are not linked in any way whatsoever, then yes. But this person actually did the act, whether it's through a correct intent or like a mind of lucid mind or not, it does not matter. And similarly, this also explains why some people who have been murderers, there's tendencies. There's another aspect of karma, which is tendencies. I'll go into a little bit, where the karma has fruition and they experience it already and that's it. But there's another aspect of karma, it's tendencies, because you've done it over and over again. So there's a habit, or it's not a habit, it's a tendency. Rinpoche use the word tendency, or sometimes it's just action resembling the result, where the act of killing, so they're used to it, so they rejoice. So I've actually watched a lot of because of Rinpoche, I watched a lot of documentaries of serial killers, psychopaths, who do not have a feeling and empathy for people. They are just born like that, so they don't feel anything. In fact, they actually feel a sense of thrill. I watch a few of them. They always say the first time they strike someone to kill the person, right? There's no regret, no remorse whatsoever. They actually feel a thrill. They say it's such a rush of thrill that they want to do it again and again to get that high. That's why they keep doing it. And they have no feelings of remorse. Don't feel there's anything wrong at all. So where does it come from? It comes from tendencies from previous lives of killing, repeatedly killing and killing and killing. So yes, amazingly, they took human rebirth. Because why they took human rebirth? The actual karma has already exhausted. But they've taken so when your karma is exhausted, so you take a high rebirth like a human, for example, and then you just do it again, because the habit is very strong, the tendency is the karma is very strong. All right, let's get going. I was talking about music just now. This is what Rinpoche said with regards to music. It's a offering of suchness, is emptiness. Just like when you ring a bell, the music doesn't actually come from the bell itself. It doesn't come from I don't know what you call it, the pendulum at the bottom. Because it comes from when it strikes, and when you move to in such a rhythm to strike the bell with the pendulum in the middle. I'm not sure if that's the correct word, but yeah. So it comes from that movement and that hit and that rhythm. Then you create the sound of the bell. Okay? So what that means is Rinpoche always say that where the sound comes from, it comes from nowhere and it goes nowhere. Hence the story like just now earlier, where I was talking about the Arya Ashwagosha, who asked the question at the doorway, am I leaving or going? Am I leaving the room or coming into the room? So it depends on your intention. So that's intention. But this is about emptiness. This is about a confluence of different factors. Everything is related to something else. Everything created a cause for something else to happen. Nothing in this world, if you think about it, nothing in this world exists on its own. Everything exists in dependence of something else. For example, the only reason why I'm able to tell you all these things about Dharma and sharing you my knowledge is because I received it from Rinpoche. I received it from reading Dharma books. I received it from listening to discussions of other Dharma brothers and sisters. I've learned the language from my teachers in school, watching TV, reading other books, non-Dharma, and speaking the language, talking, reading, and then it goes back and forth, you know. Everything we have, if you think about it, everything we have, it takes so many different people to make, from manufacturing, the people who manufacture, for example, this pair of glasses that I'm wearing right now. The person who makes the lens is a separate company. You know, they produce the lens. Then the frame is from another company. Then they produce, and they have workers and all. And then they have people who transport these items to another factory that assembles it together, and then it transports it to another company that markets it, and then it ends up in a store. And then I go into the store and I, do the test, my eye test, to check and then, there's so many people involved to get just one product. It sounds like a class on economics, but actually this is the reality. Everything, not just about, items that is produced by human beings, even in nature, even in the universe, even in planets, on a planetary level. There's so many things, that arises independence of something else. Hence, nothing truly exists on its own. Hence, the definition of emptiness is lacking of inherent existence. Inherent existence is just a fancy way of saying, it's just a technical way of saying that nothing really exists on its own, independently of everything else. Everything depends on something else to exist. I hope you guys capture what I'm saying. Okay, this is in relations to a deeper subject because it will lead on to the later verses. All right, so that's what the verse on 112 is trying to give you an idea already. Okay, let's go to 113. If you have any questions about what I've just spoken, or disagree or whatever, let me know. We can have a discussion. I may not know everything, but we can talk about it. That's how we learn. Okay, verse 113 is a little longer. When we closely examine effects and their causes, karma, we see that they both lack inherent existence. They cannot stand alone, either whole or apart. Yet there seem to exist independently rising and falling events, which in fact are conditioned by various forces, components, and parts. It is this very level on which we experience birth and our death and whatever life brings. So please, in this world of appearances only, let's always be sure what we do is of virtue, and shun all those acts that would cause us great pain. Okay, this verse talks about on a karmic level now. Just now is just music. And I just jumped the gun. I told you a little bit more. But this is just the same thing. Cause and effect. What's the difference between cause and effect? Cause is your action of your body, your speech, your mind. What kind of action? Body, what kind of mind action? Your thoughts. Your thoughts will influence your speech and your actions, your bodily actions. So it's body, speech, and mind. All right. So that's your cause. Then the result, the effect, right? The cause and effect. The effect comes from once you commit the action, it will come back to us. So the coming back to us, whether it's an experience, whether it's a result, whether it's environment, does not matter. That's an effect. In Buddhism, there's a word for it in Sanskrit. It's called vipaka. So it's karma vipaka, cause effect. All right. So the cause will always resemble the effect. The effect will always resemble the cause. resemble. The word is resemble. That means it's related. You cannot. Rinpoche always like to tell this very simple analogy. It's very simple. Your actions is likened to planting trees with seeds. So you have orange seed, apple seed, pear seeds. Okay, so if you want an orange tree, you have to plant the tree with the correct seed. You cannot plant a pear seed and expect oranges. The result will be orange, right? So you cannot, because the seed is a pear seed, a seed from a pear tree. Same thing, actions cannot be, you cannot do something hoping for something else to result from doing a wrong type of action. Because we have always hoping, part of our reason of why we are unhappy and why we chase after things and not be successful in our spiritual, worldly endeavors is because of this very simple fact that we do not do the right actions. We do not plant the right seed. Okay, that's for verse 113. I won't go too much deeper into that. If you have questions, let me know. Okay, let me see verse 114, which is shorter. Okay, because today it's just me, so I have to do everything. I have to post the thing too. Okay, verse 114. Let me read it out to you. I prefer to read from a book. When a vase has been filled by the dripping of water, the first drops themselves did not fill it alone, nor was it made full by the last several drops. It was filled by interdependent collection of causes and forces that came all together. The water, the pourer, the vase, and such things. Okay, this one kind of gives you an idea. I mentioned about motivation earlier, the intent. There's only one aspect. The action is another one. Okay, there's one, and then there's also another one, which is condition. Condition can be a lot of things. It can be, what's the condition? Condition for something to ripen is the right timing. A condition can be the time. Condition can be the circumstances, the person, the circumstances, the right occasion, for things to arise, for things to fruition. So, for example, let me see, what can I give you an example of? Condition would be, can't think of any, but if you have any questions about that, let me know, because it's important. Because just a very rough example. When you want to plant sunflowers, right? You have the seed. Okay, the seed is your action, karma, your action. That's the seed. So you put it in the soil. So the soil needs to be fertile. There needs to be sun. There needs to be water. All these are your condition. What comes out, the sunflower, is your result, is your effect. So cause is the seed. The sunflower is the result. The conditions is what? The soil, the water, the sun, all come together to create sunflowers. Okay, that's a very simple one. Okay, I think I read it from somewhere. I mean, it's easy for everybody. So, I mean, the scenario will be different for different circumstances in your life, lah. So, if you want to be successful in your career, what do you have to do? You have to get the education. Okay, the education, you need your education, you need your diploma, then from diploma, you need to go get a job. So the condition would be the right job. The condition would be your office, your colleagues, your employer, the company you joined. The condition would be, what else? The condition would be your character. How successful you are. It's actually your character. They say that what is important these days is not your cert, it's your character, your EQ. I forgot. There's another term for it anyway, but it's what What makes you successful? Not actually, in fact, that's why they are saying that the most successful people, the richest people in the world, most of them are, not all of them, but most of them are dropouts. And it's not the education they receive, it's actually their character, their perseverance, perhaps they have certain philosophy in life that help them be successful. All right? So all these are conditions. So with the right condition, your karma will arise. The problem about condition is that this is the same thing for negative karma. For negative karma to fruition, meaning for bad things to happen in life, these things that destabilizes our life, you don't know when is the right condition because we have so much seeds in us. We are like a walking seed bank. There's a lot of seeds in us. Seeds. A lot of karma from previous lives waiting to sprout. And when the right conditions come, and we don't know when is the right conditions. And the easiest way in Dharma, that's why they say, when you pursue attachments is what? Money, power, status. And these are the right conditions for negative karma to arise. Because it only matches. If you are someone who is more spiritual, who, of course, I'm not saying that, that getting a job and going to work and doing business and all, you have to give it all up. No. What I'm trying to say is that it's your mental attitude when you do it. Okay, when you're attached to it, that's the whole sum of everything you do. You want it, you love it, you strive for it, you do anything, you will cheat, you will lie, you do negative actions because of it to achieve the end result. And perhaps in life, we know people like that, or we witness people like that. Hopefully we're not like that, but it doesn't matter. My point is the conditions are there for negative karma. Same thing, when you have you want good karma to arise, you have the right kind of conditions. What kind of right kind of conditions? We have to do Dharma. We learn that right now it's the right conditions for good karma for you to ripen for your life. Why? Because I'm sharing you Dharma, and this is a condition for you to understand Dharma and apply it in your life. When you apply it, it will sprout. So the conditions are there already. So it's up to you whether to continue from here. For you guys. To pursue your spirituality, your learning. So in our lives, we can create the right conditions for samsara. Samsara means what? Samsara means our attachments. It means if we just want to pursue our entire life on shopping, eating, holidays, family, business, job, our hobby, whatever it is, if that's it, then you expect things to arise. All right? Because these are all our attachments. Attachments does not mean they are bad. Does not mean they are bad. It just means that we view it with attachment, meaning we exaggerate its good qualities in our mind. It's not something that's consciously, it's subconscious because we operate from that mind that sees all, the things we like, we only want to go for it, and we think it's so good. And hence our attachments, or all these I just mentioned are attachments, and they will only bring about certain type of karma to arise. I won't label it bad or good karma. It's up to you to decide. All right, when it happens, you know. Okay, that is verse 114. Let me go to verse 115. I'm a one-man show, man. I'm going to post this here. Okay, here you go. This is verse 115. I'm going to read it. It is precisely the same when we come to experience pleasure and pain, the results of our past Effects never come from the first causal actions, nor do they arise from the last several acts. Both pleasure and pain come from interdependent collections of forces and causes combined. So please, in this world of appearances only, let's always be sure what we do is of virtue and shun all those acts that cause us great pain. Okay, then it goes on a deeper level of karma. And this one is more of the result. When we experience pleasure or pain, it is already fruitioning of karma already. So fruitioning of karma, it says here, this is not the first thing that we did that created that pleasure or the pain, nor is it the last few things we did. It is so many things put up together, our whole life, the collection of things, our experiences, how we see things, combined together to create this feeling of pleasure and pain. Okay, so what happens is it's telling you everything doesn't really exist on its own. You cannot expect, because we have an expectation actually. We have expectation that we do one thing good, we expect a lot of good things to arise from it. We have to do more than one good thing. That's the thing. So we have to keep doing and learning and transforming our mind so that it becomes automatic, so that we overwhelm the negative. Over time, when we practice higher and higher, we gain realization and we attack on the self-cherishing mind. We attack on the self-grasping. The self-grasping is the hardest to attack. Okay, that's when we already become selfless. Self-grasping is when we already become selfless, right? Then we attack at the root of it. So when we've overcome our self-grasping, self-cherishing mind, amazing. Everything we do will collect merits, will collect good karma, will benefit others, because we act from a level of selflessness. So our actions can be negative and it will benefit someone. There are beings, there are great masters who do seemingly negative actions and result in good karma, because they operate on a level beyond self-grasping already. There's no self-grasping. Self-grasping means what? Self-grasping is it's a very deep level of our consciousness where our ego, right, that we think it's real and solid. A person who has overcome self-grasping, that grasping is on the ego. So a person who has overcome that, some great masters have overcome them through lifetimes of practice, meditation. They don't have the ego anymore. So they're egoless. So whatever they do, seemingly ordinary or extraordinary, negative, seems to be negative, can result in something positive. Because when you overcome the self-grasping mind and self-cherishing mind, you don't operate on a selfishness already. So it's not about, it will never harm someone inherently. It's always benefit, because that's just the nature of the mind. When deep down in us, we are all about compassion, deep down inside. When you've overcome that part of the mind that doesn't really exist, which is our ego. All right? So anyway, that explanation explains why some great masters can do a lot of negative actions, seemingly negative action. Like there are some masters who drink and drink, but they can benefit so many beings. They can bless them. They can give teachings that will, waken them into enlightenment. There are some masters who can do that. There are some masters who have consorts and all that. And it's not an ordinary husband-wife relationship. It is one that benefits the consort, or one that benefits others. Sometimes the both are enlightened. There are some practices in Buddhism, there's higher practices that you need two parties, a man and a woman. In our tradition, we don't practice that, but there are other traditions that does that, to go in union in order to further the realizations. But we cannot use that to say, you find a girlfriend, find a boyfriend, we go in union so they become enlightened. Not at our level, okay? Not at our level. Okay, so that was verse 115. I want to finish this today because there's not much left. 116. Okay, let me post that up first before I read it to you guys. Okay, there you go, 116. We're not making formal dissections with logic, merely letting life's happening flow freely on. Although we experience feelings of pleasure, in ultimate truth, this appearance of happiness lacks self-existence inherently real. And yet, on the everyday operative level, this seemingly appearance has relative truth. To understand fully this deep, profound meaning for slow-minded persons, alas, will be hard. Okay, this is even hard for me. Let me see. We're not making formal dissections with logic, merely letting life's happenings flow freely on. Although we experience... Okay, let's focus on the feelings of pleasure. In ultimate truth, this appearance of happiness lacks self-existence inherently real. And yet, on the everyday operative level, this seeming appearance has relative truth. Okay, this one talks about happiness in life. Okay? It is saying that it is real. It's a relative truth. It is real. When you experience your attachments, you do feel happiness. It does give you convenience. It benefits you. Short term, it benefits you. So it's not denying the truth that it benefits you, but ultimately on a bigger, grander scale, it doesn't really exist. Because you know why? It comes to an end. And many of the times, not just coming to an end, many of the times it leads to our downfall. Because we crave for this short-term pleasure, and we do things to distract ourselves. We do things to sometimes inconvenience ourselves at the expense of our other aspects of our life, our relationships, at the expense of our, time with more important things in life, spirituality sometimes. Sometimes our attachments are more important than our spirituality. And in fact, for when you're very new, that's the bottom of our list. Our attachments are always on the top. And even when we are in Dharma for many years, our attachments are still on top, Dharma is still at the bottom. But perhaps it goes up in our attachments. Some attachments are not so important. We understand as we learn Dharma, we experience Dharma, we do Dharma practice, we realize some truths, and then we realize, that some attachments are really not important. Some attachments do not really bring us happiness. We know that, we realize it, so the Dharma rises through the ranks. So it's important for us to practice, to learn, to listen, so that we lift this, it's like a stock market, we lift Dharma higher and higher, so that the Dharma share price goes up. So it's important that, oh no, my battery is going dead now, my laptop. Okay, where was I? Okay, 117. Okay, I hope I have enough battery. If it goes dead, I'll just got to read to you and post up later. Yeah, it just went off. 117. Okay, I'll post the rest of the quotes later. 117. And now when we try to do deep contemplation on voidness, how can we have even a feeling of conventional truth at the very same time? And yet, what can there be that has true self-existence, and what can there be that lacks relative truth? How can anyone anywhere believe in such things? Verse 118, just as objects of voidness are non-self-existent, the voidness of objects itself is the same. The shunning of vice and the practice of virtue are likewise devoid of all mental constructions, that they are independent, self-contained acts. In fact, on the whole, they are all lacking completely all mental projections and all preconceptions. Thus, we can focus our clear concentration on voidness without our mind wandering astray. Then truly we shall come to be wondrous beings with deep understanding of the most profound void. By practicing this way, the two bodhicittas of the ultimate and conventional truth, and thus by completing without interference collections of insight and merit as well, may all of us quickly attain full enlightenment, granting what we and all others have wished. That is verse 119. That completes the wheel of sharp weapons. And if you're wondering what those words were about, voidness. Okay, let me give you a little short. Let me see. I'll give you a quick, in a nutshell, explanation about emptiness, and then we'll call it for the night. All right. Void in this book, the word is not emptiness. The word is void. It's the same. It's the same meaning. In Sanskrit, it's shunyata. Okay? Voidness, emptiness of inherent existence is very simple, actually. It can be very simple or it can be extremely profound. It depends on how you go about it. And it means a few things. It means the nature of reality itself, and at the same time, it is also connected with a certain attainment in our mind. Spiritual attainment in our mind, a realization, a very high realization. It's not a normal realization, it's a high level of realization in our mind. And when we have attained emptiness, right, what happens is we stop, we cut karma, we gain some sort of realization of the nature of reality. And it helps us. In fact, it is said that, because some people are wondering, how do I purify all my karma? Because if I keep purifying, most of our practices, we are not actually purifying negative karma from like previous lives. We are only, what we are doing, the practice that we do, most of what we do, right, is only purifying the karma we're doing in this life, because we do so little purification. So what we purify is only this life. The problem about negative karma is it multiplies. So in order to, most of our practices cut the multiplying, but we do not actually purify. We don't purify enough to purify into our previous karmas. So it's very important to understand that. And hence, it is said that the best way to purify all karma is when we realize emptiness. And hence, all Buddhas have this realization and have the ability to purify karma. But we need to tap into their realization. They cannot do it for you. We have to do the work. Okay, so all this is connected to emptiness. And I've already given you an idea about how it operates when I talk about the sound and where it comes from. Because everything in existence depends on many factors. It cannot exist on its own. It depends on many, many factors. And also, to understand it fully, it cannot be expressed in words. Yes, it cannot be. Yes, I know we have the word emptiness, but you look at the word they use, emptiness, voidness, it doesn't exist. Lacking of inherent existence, it doesn't exist. So if something that doesn't truly exist, how do you express it in words? You can't, actually, you can't. So there's a way of coming to a realization, coming to an understanding, just like when we're trying to feel something in dark, trying to feel, let's say, this bottle, I'm trying to feel what it is. So when you feel it, okay, it doesn't have any flat surface. Sorry, it is not. No. The traditional way is, it is not a key. It doesn't feel like a key. It is not a box. It is not a car. It's not a bed. So it goes down the list. It's not this. It's not this. It's process of negation. And logically, you come to a point where it's not, everything is not this, not this, not this. Then you come to a realization of what it really is. That's one way of doing it. So there's many ways. In Buddhism, there arose many different methods to come to an understanding of emptiness. Because emptiness cannot be expressed in words. That's the irony of it. But in general, it is said that the attitude into coming to that is two. The attitude one attitude is everything exists solidly, independently. Actually, that's how most of us think. Everything exists independently, solidly. That's one extreme. The other extreme is nothing really exists. You cannot also think everything doesn't truly exist, so you do whatever lah, don't care. So there's another extreme. So your attitude have to be in between. Everything truly exists, or everything do not exist at all. So there's these two mental attitudes in between. Emptiness can be found exactly in between. Hence, when it was first taught by the Indian master Nagarjuna, who received it, who was the first to rediscover this teaching from the Buddha, and he called it Madhyamaka, which is the middle way. So in between two extremes. Okay, so I kind of give you a roundup. I don't know whether it make any sense to you guys, and I have come to an end. I will continue next week. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, my laptop battery died, so I can't see your comments, but I'll answer you. Ask anyway. Just because I couldn't answer you directly through the video, I'll answer you, in writing. I can comment later and charge my laptop battery. So thank you very much, and I will do dedication and we end for the night. All right. Chaju Sancho Rinpoche, Maki Banangyushe, Kebaya Mame Payang, Golden Go to Pewasho, Tony Tonga Rinpoche, Maki Banangyushe, Kebaya Mame Payang, Golden Go to Pewasho, Dazo Chene Sabagewadi, Tanandroa Gunlankan Banda, Jebo Jozo, Lozon Drobo, Tamping Porindo Sao She, Kewa Gundo Yona Lamada, Jemi Joki Pala Long Choche, Sadalangi on the Rajuni, Doji Changi Gopan Yutu Show, Gewadi, Yudoda, Lama Sangi Juni, Chuachika Malupa de Salagoba Show. 去日本送噶吧，出送那么别忘了，给给什么就我的，对你妈妈上说，让人生意都是当主要是来等你，给我老生这牌，当别人发就是你们的了生的了，你们公用的了选，也生大度的了表，看着生人有路，看着生我着手，看着生大气说，这是那么个事儿的钱，能看出人是个几把当，老生这没中上生的，中文是大度呢，就是讲的那位可爱性的，本人的我马路看完呢，前人是我真正叫所以，下辈子的把都。 Yuji, Hong to Bengo to Malopa, then the dollar said so. Quadrant Tempalogen gave us Suji shook the hand. So, thank you, everybody. Good night.